So I think we've now accepted that uncertainty really is the norm and that it demands particular skills from leaders. We're in conversation today with Jonny Wong from dMFK, and we're exploring one of those skills, which is self-awareness. Before we go into that, here's just a quick introduction to Coaches on the Couch, which is hosted by me, Rachel Birchmore, and Louise Rogers. And we explore leadership in the built environment, which is where we do the majority of our work. We're both exec coaches, and together we design and deliver leadership development programs for architects, engineers, and others across the built environment. For more on that, see stepuplondon.com or drop me an email at rachel@stepuplondon.com. So let's get into that conversation about self-awareness. Thanks for listening. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Coaches on the Couch. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Louise.
And today we're really pleased to be joined by Jonny Wong, who is Director of dMFK. Hi, Jonny. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining us. And you're fresh back from UK Reef.
That's right, yes.
I have serious FOMO because I didn't get to go in the end. But how was it? How was the mood?
Good. I mean, it's funny actually. When the weather's good, everyone's a bit more buoyant. I think we underestimate how fickle we are, or how much we're affected by the weather.
Yeah, whole property market governed by sun.
Yeah, because last year when in Mipham in Cannes it was raining and everyone was a bit down on the market. And
it's always bad at Mipham when it's raining.
Yeah. And then come May when it was sunny in Leeds, everyone was a bit more buoyant. I was like, guys, it's only had 2 months. But no, I think the mood is that everyone. It's because it's a constant for the last few years of things aren't the strongest. Everyone's now, that's the framework to work within. So it's less up and down. It's more, this is what we have to work with and let's get on with it.
That's interesting. Yeah. Which no doubt we'll come back to.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk politics.
Okay, so before we get into that, we need to chat couches. So please tell us something brief and interesting about your couch.
Sure. I mean, this couch, we bought this. This was our first home when we bought this couch.
Right.
So we were on a budget. And at the time, when people sniff it, especially as designers, we sniff at companies like DFS, but actually they do partnerships. So this was a partnership with DFS and FC UK. And for a young couple, the benefit was 0% finance. So we paid it across 4 years. But of course, what turns out to be an unexpected benefit is all the covers can come off and wash because I've got 2 young kids now and they trash
it. Right, yeah.
They spill everything. So actually, it turns out it looks fresh now because we can wash it.
Right. Brilliant. Thanks, Jonny. On to a quick introduction. So you've got a really wide remit at dMFK, which in addition to projects includes shaping new business and client relationships, nurturing a collaborative studio culture, and supporting the growth of talent across the team. You're involved in Women in Architecture as mentor, and also you're a member of the Greenwich Design Review panel. Is that a new appointment, Jonny? I think I saw that on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's brand new.
Is it new? Right.
Is that where you live as well? Is that where your sofa
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay.
I have my first DRP coming up next month.
dMFK has a beautiful space in Charlotte Street, which if listeners haven't been, is worth a visit. I say that because it's scripted here, but I haven't been, so I'm sure it's worth.
But I have, and it is beautiful.
Yeah, including the new downstairs at dMFK, which is a showcase for your work and a platform for collaboration.
That's right.
The studio is well known for its workplace projects, but your portfolio is much broader than that, isn't it, Jonny? And maybe you could highlight a couple of key projects for us.
Yes, of course. So, I mean, right now, I'd say we're 75% workspace. But back in 2019-18, it was probably more half-half between residential and commercial.
Right.
But we've always done both, and we've always been nimble. And over the years, we've also done. We're currently doing, for example, 3 kindergartens, doing 3 high-end gyms. We've done 5 synagogues over the years too.
Right.
And which effectively are community buildings. So it's all the projects. It's really getting into the bones of how people use the space, and it's always been as simple as that. So I always put it down to like there are several projects that changed the trajectory of the company.
Right.
So I joined in 2010, and I was the 8th person at the time.
Wow, you've grown a lot then.
Yeah, and that's what's been quite exciting throughout. It's always been changing and evolving, and we've never had a strategy or or an idea of we want to be this size or this number. We've always just wanted to be able to keep doing good projects, and we don't have any projects unless there's an NDA on it. We don't have any projects that don't make it on the website. All our projects have the same diligence and care, and yeah, I've been very lucky. I always noticed it with my dad and his career that his mentors were 15 years older than him, and then he was then mentor to people 15 years younger than him. And the 3 founding partners, they're exactly 15 years older than me, and
really
we've developed into friends, family, a very strong bond. And now it's nurturing and growing the 15-year team younger than us.
Well, that actually comes across on your website, I think, which talks about a broad team, which is low on ego, which is very pertinent to the discussion that we want to have with you today, and high on collaboration. And it would be great to hear about both of those things. You met with Rachel a few weeks ago to explore topics for today and discuss the studio's success in recent years, which you've just touched on, despite the increasing pressures and uncertainty, which we all regard now as being the norm. And you talked about the importance of self-awareness. So that's what we picked for our theme today. And it links into some things that have already been mentioned, like mentoring.
Yes.
But maybe we could start with a few of your thoughts on self-awareness. I mean, how would you describe it, Jonny?
So I'd say that self-awareness, it's not about kind of being therapeutic, it's more operational. It's about self-awareness in leadership. It's not introspection in too much. It's not about kind of being aware of myself or ourselves. It's about understanding the effect that we have as leaders in the room or on the room.
Okay.
That's so, knowing when your energy lifts or suppresses the discussion in your team, recognizing your default mode. So recently, I talked to Rachel about this, but recently we did a load of DISC profiles, so character tests among the 5 directors. And it's very interesting because it shows you your natural state and then your evolved state. And over the years, everyone has sort of formed, it's the same, it's like evolution. It's niches. You fill a niche that's needed, that the company needed at a time. And sometimes, and you can be good at all of them, but your natural state is might be different to what you do on a day-to-day. And then that takes energy. And so what the awareness is sometimes about that, about being above or below the line in terms of how you respond. And, the difference as well between confidence and certainty, knowing how to make decisions. And it's been really helpful for us as a director team, kind of becoming more aware of each of our roles and each of each other's roles. And it was kind of, some of it was obvious, some of it was really interesting in terms of one of my partners, he has become this when actually he's over here.
Was this in response to those DISC profiles? You made those conscious changes in response to that?
I think we naturally evolved into our roles anyway. But it's more about being aware of each other and also holding each other to account. So, when I say like knowing what your response is doing to your team, that's something that generationally was never thought about. Historically in the old days, you had the kind of named architect, the star architect, and that way of operating doesn't really fit with today's way of running the business or today's architects. And the younger generation don't like that either. But I mean, I for example, I feel very lucky that I've got the other partners to bounce off, and I would never. I sympathise for the people who've been at the top on their own the whole time. It's quite hard to then know where to trust, where to delegate, and we've not had that because we've all been able to bounce off each other. And one of the things culturally internally as well is we ask people don't wear headphones because they can hear us asking each other questions, and it's really important that we don't always have the answer.
Oh gosh, speaking my language, I never quite understand I mean, we've spoken about this before, and I'm sure it's come up on the podcast before, but those studios you go into when and PR companies as well, which is my background, where everybody's got their headphones on.
Yeah.
And that sort of sense of collaboration and learning through being in a collective environment can't help but be damaged by that, can it? So, sorry, were you saying that you realized that doing this exercise with the disc thing, it sort of helped you realize that some people default to a particular way of being in order to fill a gap that's needed in the leadership team, although it may not come naturally to them, but they kind of it may not come naturally to them in another environment, but in your particular environment, that's the role that they play within the leadership team. Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
And when everyone went through the program, we did it individually, and then we reported to each other as a group. You know, they were. It made so much sense when you heard it. You know, sometimes people rush to a decision because they feel like they need to make a decision, when actually no one's wanting them to make a decision on the spot. They're just wanting to go through the process and talk about it with each other. And over the years, some people have forced themselves to be decisive in the moment, but actually that might not be the right choice. And it's against their own instincts, because normally they are more facts-based and like to mull it over longer, but they felt they couldn't have that time. And so now it's like being sensitive to that and giving each other the time and space. And also, you know, quite often in architecture, you know, design crits. I don't know if architecture schools are still as harsh in crits as they used to be, but it was a real kind of learning through the cauldron, through the furnace. And so that kind of presenting and critiquing often favors strong characters. And actually, sometimes then you miss the ideas of the quieter ones. And so being able to understand who's naturally quieter, but then actually more pensive, and they're sitting there quietly, but they're not sitting there doing nothing.
Not inactive.
Doesn't mean they're not thinking and not creating. Yeah, absolutely.
And when I go back to the star architect thing, you know, being the best designer or best architect is not the same as being the best leader. And that I found, you know, a lot of leadership is, or it's, now anyway, I think, is emotional temperature control. It's being able to, you know, navigate the anxiety in the room and being able to reduce that.
I love that, emotional temperature control.
Yeah, say more about that, Jonny. How you do that?
It's reading the room, body language, and that's why I don't like things on Teams. I think there's so much more importance in collaborating has to be in person, because there's so many subtle things that you don't get on Teams. But when there's a group of you in the room, I had this actually in pre-apps, where there was a period after COVID where a lot of councils were still doing pre-apps on screen. And there was a moment where the council complained to the client that I was too visibly annoyed with them. And what I said is, I'm really sorry for that. I mean, I was a bit frustrated, but also being on Teams meant you're just all staring at my face.
Yeah.
And actually
quite intense, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that changed everything. We then set up all the pre-apps from then on in person, and you're looking at the same drawings on the table together and discussing ideas instead of hitting each other with ideas.
Yeah, it's not that direct eye contact all the time, is it?
Yeah, and so it's about listening. There's judgment in the room. There's calibration. And there's some things that I have an idea of what I want to say when I go into the room, but actually when you're in there, you think, actually, that's not quite right, or don't go in this approach, and you calibrate on the spot.
Yeah.
And on Teams, you can't do that because you're not reading the cues.
Yeah, the different cues.
Yes. Rachel and I often say that you know, the core of our Step Up program is this thing. It's self-awareness, and encouraging that in all sorts of different creative ways that we do in our work with clients. How do you think you learned that self-awareness?
I started off my career in the Middle East in IDIS, so there was 150 to 200 person office as part of a 1,000-person company at the time, and it was very interesting perspective change there. But one of the benefits of going to big companies is you learn about the importance of politics and hierarchy in the office, and quite contrasting ways of doing it. So, for example, I had this Serbian director who 1 minute he's shouting, the next minute you're best buddies. And it was hard to to deal with at the beginning as a fresh graduate, but actually I really respected it by the end because you always knew where you were. And one of the things I think is very important is not to let things build up, frustrations when people just because so actually a lot of people, when they come up the kind of leadership ranks and they become managers, one of the hardest things that people find is having a hard conversation with someone. And it's not quite being cool to be kind. It's more about honesty, but about you need to be able to be honest to help people. There's no point in, if someone's not quite performing, and letting them carry on, and then you're not happy, they're not happy, and then it builds up and expresses itself in the wrong way. And so I really respected, actually, by the end, with the Serbian director, which is a cultural thing, but they just tell you how it is. And I always knew where I was with him. If I was doing something wrongly, I knew it, but it wasn't personal. It was purely objective. It was that task I was doing wrongly, and not taking things personally. I think American culture is quite like that too, where over here, when someone leaves a company, everyone, it hurts a bit and they move on. But actually in America, they're much more kind of objective with it. Someone moves on, goes up the ranks, and then you poach them back, and actually effectively someone else has trained them for you. And it's much more professional in that way. And so there's there's pros and cons to each, but I find there's a good balance to be had by observing and learning other people's cultures.
Yeah. So that sort of cross-culture observation. Yeah. I guess if we're in a room with people who are behaving very differently from the way that they do in our own culture, then it teaches us how to be observant.
Yeah. And we had kind of Asian, so Japanese and Korean clients, and that's another fascinating operation, because over there you can't, if the leader says something that's wrong, no one will correct them. They'll kind of sit there, and then once the meeting's finished, they'll call you later and say, actually, what they meant is this, but they're not able to be wrong. And I think actually being a leader, it's important, kind of the culture from the top. You've got to be able to be wrong. You've got to be able to disagree, and then be seen, like, for people to see how you disagree and how you come to a conclusion without being too fearful of people's titles.
Just shows how fluid self-awareness is, isn't it? You're talking in different cultures, so our impact on others is going to vary hugely, isn't it? So the way we are might be received completely differently within a different group of people.
Point with the Japanese one. There's a really good movie called Tampopo. It was from 1967, I think. They called it the first noodle Western. And it was banned for a while in Japan for mocking some of their cultural elements. But one of them, a group of businessmen are in a French restaurant, and the boss orders fish pie or something. And so all around the table, they all ordered the same thing. And then it comes to the intern, and he starts asking questions in French to the waiter. And then it zooms under, and all his colleagues are kicking him. And so, I think part of leading as well is having, and when we talk about not having an ego, is having humility and
I mean, I suppose that sort of deferential, the deferential way in which people used to hold leaders isn't there anymore, which is probably a good thing in most circumstances. But it's not. There's not an assumption always these days, is there, that the leader is always right, and we have to defer to them all the time. Yeah.
I mean, there's some benefits of having a bit of respect to the hierarchy, but also you have to earn it.
I'm interested in the relationship between self-awareness and ego, and the sort of low ego stance of the studio. How do you see that?
Well, that's a constantly evolving thing. I think I can't say right now we have no ego.
Well, I can imagine it's useful sometimes to.
Yes, but
or
also,
is it or not?
Yes and no. I mean, so for example, the need to be right is a big part of it, and being able to be wrong, or being able to be wrong publicly, and that's something everyone is working on, myself included. We haven't always got that right, but what we try to do, but by having low ego, is that collaboration isn't just a niceness; it's like vital to how our design evolves. Otherwise, all our projects are going to look exactly the same, because if it just comes from the top down. Also, then there's no point in hiring good people. we're going to universities, trying to recruit the best candidates out there, and then if we come and then they just have to do exactly what we tell them to do, then they're not really contributing, and they're just a set of tools, really. So actually, the most efficient way to get the best project is to have a framework where everyone feels like they can contribute.
Yeah. There's a big connection with psychological safety, isn't there?
Yeah. And what was the phrase that it was like, ego can create blind spots.
Sure. Yeah.
And also, architecture, as with planning, is ever more complex. So you need to be able to have, as architects, we're experts in everything, and that's quite tricky. But as it's getting more and more complex, there's more and more things coming in, and sustainability, building safety regulations, planning politics, retrofit, and then also all of the MEP structure, even on a project, regardless of in the office. There's such a diverse spread of knowledge and skills that you need, and so you need to inherently you're listening to other people.
I'm just a little bit curious. We were talking about a lack of deference and creating safety where people feel that they can speak up and going with the best idea and not the most important person in the room's idea. And it got me thinking about, times of uncertainty, which we have all been through and continue to go through. And one of the things that we explored right at the beginning of our podcast was leadership during times of big uncertainty, COVID in particular.
Yeah.
I guess these days also, during these difficult times that we're living in now, sometimes it's necessary for a leader to be decisive in order to make the teams that they're leading feel safe and more confident in the future.
Yeah, I think it's easy to look good and feel collaborative or sound collaborative when things are going well. I think the real test is when when you're under pressure. That's when culture really shows itself. But I know of companies that have gone under this year. It's never nice to hear that, especially they're good architects. So we're very cautious. We are communicative. So every Monday we have a meeting to the whole office and talk about what we're up to and give everyone an opportunity to kind of see across the office and see what's going on. But also, you don't have to overshare. Does that make sense?
I mean, as directors, you don't have to overshare.
Yeah, there's a balance between being open communication, but not then deciding everything by committee.
Yeah. There are times when it's best to shield people a little bit from the economics of things, for example.
I'm wondering how you reach that balance between sharing enough so that the team feels informed, but not sharing so much that it unsettles people. And I can imagine that's a bit of trial and error. Or
it is, yeah. And I'd say that I'm definitely probably the oversharer of the team.
Right, okay. Is that what your disc profile says?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's about setting standards and setting boundaries, I guess, isn't it? And being open about what the direction of the office is doing, and what we're trying to achieve, but not then giving everyone your stress.
Yeah.
It's the same actually throughout, even in the office. We try and set this rule of 1-3-1, which is if you've got a problem or you've made a mistake, that's got one problem, one mistake, that's fine. Before you just bring it to me and make it my problem, come up with have a think of 3 options to get out of it, and then the last one is your recommendation. And then that way, when people come to us with their mistake or the problem, we're just helping them decide how to get out of it, as opposed to making it my problem or our problem.
So more of a coaching style. I love that. 1-3-1. So if you have a problem, don't come straight to me with it. Think of 3 different options and then work out which your recommended option is, and then come and share that with me, so that we can decide together whether that is the right way to go.
It's throughout life, personal relationships as well. It's like, don't make it my problem. Let's work on it together.
Yeah. Brings us to your role in mentoring and nurturing young talent rather nicely. Is that something the 1-3-1, is that something that you've carried through to your involvement in mentoring?
Yeah, so in the office we have mentoring, where everyone has a mentor who's one of the associate team or associate directors who isn't in their team. And then all of the associates then have a mentor who's one of the associate directors, and all the associate directors have a mentor who's one of the directors.
Right.
And we try to make sure they're not people they're working with. And also we don't give them a strong remit. So the part of it was also to give the associates, put them on the spot where they're with their younger office and they're having to answer questions on the spot, figure out how to communicate themselves. So it's giving people the freedom to speak on behalf of the company without being told every time what they should and shouldn't say. And people make mistakes. Sometimes people said the wrong thing, and it's kind of, they have to then come over and say, actually, I may have said too much here, or and I've been guilty of that too. And then you learn how to navigate and develop your own ability to control information. And that's important with clients, important with planning. It's when you're presenting, it's all about control of information. So that's part of the mentoring in the office. Because it's worth mentioning, there was a period where culturally, I'd say, and the vibe right now, we're in one of the best places we've ever been, if not the best. Like, people are very much enjoying it here. We're busier than we want to be, in terms of, like, people are working harder than usual for an extended period, and that's partly because of the market, and partly because clients in the commercial sector are different to residential, where residential sector, you can get held up by planning for a bit, and it's a bit of a slower process. With commercial, when there's no planning, straight in.
Pace.
Yeah, so the pace is slightly different. I'd say the pace here is a bit quicker than it has been. But there was a period where it wasn't great because we grew too quickly. We grew from 22 people to 45 within a year. And we had to strategize. And that's where this mentoring came in. And the rotating came in, the reorganization of our teams, to make sure that people were learning from people who weren't also only a week older than them in the office. Yeah, mentoring internally was very important to kind of create more of a studio culture in the office. And then this year is my first year mentoring outside, so women in architecture.
Yeah.
And also we're talking with the BFA, Black Females in Architecture, as well.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
We haven't started with them yet, but I've been talking with Alice.
Plan to.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so I meet my team, my mentor group, once a month. We're trying once a month. I think recently it's been once every 2 months, but because everyone's quite busy. But actually, what I'm finding is I'm offering my insight, but it's really not just them coming to me. It's actually the group together. It's all helping each other.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I think, the better part of it than them just sitting there and me talking to them. It's actually, we're all talking about what we're going through and giving each other ideas and tips.
I think that's really powerful, isn't it? I mean, you can we do group coaching rather than group mentoring, and you can sort of see that power of, if you can get the space right, how people start to open up and add in their experience.
It also builds more of a sort of collegiate, we're in this together.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of spirit, doesn't it? That as the practice continues to flourish, it's going to be important in that next generation that they work well together and they know each other well and they understand each other's strengths and what they bring to the table and all the rest of it. So yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, and over the years, I mean, those kind of UK Reef and MIPIM events, actually one of the best parts of it hasn't been just going after clients. It's the bonds I've formed with other architects. And actually, maybe it's a generational thing, I don't know, but everyone's much more collaborative than I imagine they were 20 years ago. And everyone's more willing to chat and share ideas. And we're all going through similar things, just on different scales, really.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's always been the criticism levelled at architects that they tend to architects network with other architects. But I think that's sort of in the old guise, whereas now people seem to actually get quite a lot out of that networking with other architects, both in terms of business support, as it were, but also actually because projects have become more collaborative. So there's more collaboration opportunities, so you can actually lead each other to work in a way that maybe wasn't true.
Yeah, I mean, we're currently, I won't name them yet because we're in bids together, but we're in 2 bids with other architecture companies where we've met at various events, and they've come to us and said, actually, could you bolster our team in this part of this bid? And it's a really lovely process. It doesn't need to be competition all the time.
Yeah, I think that is something that's changed quite a lot in the last 20 years. I mean, when I was doing PR for architects, it used to be that the architects I worked for all wanted to be in the Architects Journal, but it was just, and I'd say, why do you want to be? It's just going to be other architects. Well, now that would have a different resonance. You know, it makes sense now that you would want other architects to know what you're doing, not so that you can kind of play one-up personship, but so that the potential for collaboration becomes clearer if they know what you're doing.
And that's in a way part of our. So we did a new website. We launched a new website about a month ago, and a big part of that was not just showing the projects we've done, because we've got a good portfolio of projects. Is also part of it was also showing more of the process to show clients what it would mean to work with us. And another big part of it was showing more personality of the culture of the team, and showing more about actually who we are and who you're working with. And we pride ourselves on we care about the service as much as the product. So we have a lot of repeat business. The clients come to us, and then we end up working with them like 5-6 projects later down the line, and we care about that as much as the finished product.
Yeah, that's great. We're going to need to move into our final question.
Sure.
I'm thinking, obviously, self-awareness is one behavior or skill that we've talked about as being fundamental maybe for leadership in current uncertainty, future uncertainty. I'm just wondering what you think what else you think young leaders maybe need more of now and as we move into the future.
Well, the industry's changed a lot since I started. I mean, over the last 10, even over the last 5 years, in a good way. The kind of the balance, and you see it in the events, the balance of people compared to what it was when I first went to MIPIM. It was, a sea of navy suits and gilets, and there's still a bit of that, but it's getting much better, I think. So I think part of it is, what's the word? So self-awareness, metacognition is like understanding your own bias.
Okay. As well.
Everyone's learning. I think, and that's why the 15-year gap has been helpful in that. The 3 founding directors, they were from a different era. I'm from the kind of era coming up, and then the 15-year era below me is going to be even more it's going to look completely different to what I'm seeing now. So each step, each kind of tier is a stepping stone. As long as you're constantly willing to learn, and I think that's something we've got here, which is great. Is no one's fixed in their mindset of how things have to be.
Which is important alongside self-awareness, isn't it? Because it can be quite fixing for people when they become overly self-aware. Oh, I'm this sort of person, so I can't possibly do that. Can actually be one of the downsides. So that's an important point, I think.
What was the expression you just used?
Metacognition. So to make sure that so if you're high in metacognition, you're less susceptible to your own biases. And there's a thing where I read where if you hear something, if someone tells you something that is completely opposite to your fundamental beliefs, maybe not fundamental beliefs, but your beliefs, and it shocks you, your brain responds as if you're being personally or physically attacked.
Yeah, that's right. There's a bear.
Yeah. And then I heard, I called it the corridor theory, but actually someone else said it's your sphere of influence, but it doesn't matter. So if I'm ever trying to pitch a new idea to the decision makers in our company or to people in the room, when we're in the meeting room talking about it, that's not the first time I've told them about it. Quite often I'll have approached them separately and just planted the seed there, so that when it comes, it's not a shock to them. They're already thinking about it. And one of the best ways to get people to be self-aware is to ask them to be kind of self-critical first, so that when you then give them honest feedback, it's not you're not attacking them. It comes from a place that let's work on it together.
Oh, psychology. A lot of psychology in this conversation.
Yeah, I should
go away and read about metacognition. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That brings us to the end. Thanks so much for that canter through self-awareness, ego, metacognition,
and constant growth. I mean, I haven't got it right all the time. I've definitely said the wrong things at times. But the main thing is that people have, when it has happened, have been able to come to me and say, look, I didn't like what you said there. And I'll take it away and learn from it, and it's how you respond to that. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
Gosh, you should be doling out relationship advice.
I need to apply it more at home, maybe.
A lot more complicated. Thank you very much, Jonny.
Thanks so much, Jonny. Thanks to everyone for listening.
Yeah.
And we'll be back soon.